The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign, trusted by over 500 NFL players for their winning smiles. And broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your host, Nicole Hutchison.
Happy Wednesday, Cowboys Nation. Welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Invisalign here in the SWBC studio. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and Jazz Monet. How y'all doing?
Good.
Ready to get into this. So ready to turn the page.
Just here.
I'm about sick of y'all.
Just vibes.
What?
We're just vibing.
What you want me
That
to
should be the name of the show. She
say?
says it so much.
Oh my God, do I really?
You know, but to be fair, she has good reason this season. Last season, she wasn't saying that.
I wasn't.
No, because she was like, hey, I was actually talking about this at work this morning. The different feeling between this time last year and this year, I was like, wow. We're not going to go down memory lane. We're just going to turn the page and do what we got to do.
Absolutely. But before we turn the page, y'all know what time it is?
It's 4:01.
It's time to wake up!
Oh, my God.
I mean, it depends. People could be watching this from different parts of the world, so technically it could be bedtime.
No, it's time to wake up.
It's 5 o'clock
We got
somewhere.
stuff to talk about. All right. Wake up! See?
Oh, my God.
Jazzy's here. Jazzy is here.
You got to be kidding me.
Absolutely not. All right, here we go, because, we like to keep the people informed about who practiced today. And, again, today is a Wednesday, so Veterans Rest Day. Keep that in mind. All right, did not participate. You have, of course, Cooper Beebe, who went out with a concussion against the Bengals. Eric Kendricks did not participate. DeMarvin Overshown, we know that he's out for the season. Wanye Thomas, I think this is his last week, actually, before he returns, possibly. Then you have Nick Vigil, who did not participate because of a foot. Trayvon Diggs was limited. C.J. Goodwin was limited. CeeDee Lamb was limited. Jordan Lewis was limited. And the rest were full participants. Don't we love that?
We do.
We love that. All right.
I do.
Sure, indeed.
Not the sure indeed. All right, ladies. Well, obviously, the biggest play of the game against the Bengals, where the Cowboys lost 27-20 in AT&T Stadium. But, of course, the final play that mattered most was the blocked punt by Nick Vigil, and then the mistake by Amani Oruwariye, which he owned up to and took accountability, and we heard from him today in locker room. But first, before we hear from Amani, we have to hear from John Fossil, because he did address the play yesterday in the coordinator's press conferences. So let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say first.
Real simply, we had a 7-box return call on that was going to go to our right, and I can give this information because it's on tape. We were vicing their left gunner because we anticipated a punt to the left. We were holding up the right side of their core. And on the back side of it, there's one of two things we can do as far as forcing the punt, because it was a return call, but you always want to have somebody force the punt as far as, rush. And we worked on this a lot. We've done it before, where one of the guys crosses face from one side to the other, and we test the backside B gap just to make sure that there isn't any protection bust. The guard tracked, Buddy Johnson, who crossed face, and the rookie tackle kind of, flailed out. And so our B-gap test passed, and nobody blocked Nick. And so he shot it, and that's what happened on the backside. Most of the time, 2 guys clamp down or 1 guy clamps down. We just turn that into a holdup. But when the C parts, you shoot it, and that's what Nick did. So his instincts were good because that's what we practiced. The next part of it, he blocked it, and I know you want to ask about Amani, AO, we call him. He was part of the vice outside. The gunner released outside, so Kimon and AO turned and ran with them, basically on their boundary with the back to the action. And AO said that he heard the crowd, which was significant, so he turned back to see what happened, and the ball was bouncing at him. He didn't know that it got blocked. He didn't know if it was a fumble. He didn't know why the ball was where it was. And then so he just reacted probably like I would, see ball, get ball, here it is. I don't know how it got here, but here it is. And so he tried to feel the ball, and it was kind of like an onside kickball, like a drum, and it just took a bad bounce, and he just missed it.
I wanted to first, so we could hear him break it all down, hear what Bones had to say, and then now we can go into what Amani had to say when he was asked about the play and what happened.
Taking my guy, and it kind of heard a thump. Didn't know what that was. It could have been a punt, could have been blocked, whatever it was. But all I knew is I turned around to react like any athlete would, and saw the ball there, and in a split decision, made a decision to go try to secure the ball, and that's just part of the game. I felt like it was something that I felt in that moment was a reactionary thing to do, and so I'm standing by it. So.
As soon as it happened, did you start? I mean, once it went off, did you start? Well, what? When did you realize that? Well, you shouldn't have touched it because it was blocked.
I would probably say after the play, just kind of seeing everyone's emotion. I'm like, dang, that was a pretty big, mistake, in the moment. But like I said, it was reactionary. It was, in the moment, just. The ball kind of got up on me pretty quick, so wish I could have secured it. Wish I could have just not touched it. Either way, it kind of unfolded how it did, and that's part of the game. That's part of life. Things you got to kind of, take and learn from and move on from. So.
I think it's better for us or people to hear from, the player himself and also Bones, just about their perspectives on what happened. But Amani did also add that. He's appreciated how Bones has been there for him in that press conference. I mean, not in the press conference, in locker room. But he's still learning. Even though he's been in the league for 6 years, this is still a learning thing for him, being put in a whole new system, and so to speak. So, yeah, I think, what's y'all's thoughts on what Amani had to say?
Yeah, I want to go on this because I will lose my train of thought, and there's a lot I have to say about it, but I want to put it together really nicely. Because this was something that I saw happen, and I knew instantly there would be a lot of displaced anger from the fan base, specifically, to AO, because of everything that has happened to get this far. You're coming off of back-to-back wins. You finally feel a little bit of juice, a little bit of life, and then it almost felt like, oh, of course, something happens in the last 2 minutes, and that's why, and it's because of a mistake that shouldn't have happened, and I understand that part of it, so I'm not trying to gaslight any fans of feeling how they feel. You're allowed to feel how you feel. However, when you think of it through a player's perspective, I've never played football. You don't have to know about the sport or to know about what a football decision is. You don't have to have played football, but I think you could understand it from AO's perspective in terms of how quick time passes when you're playing a game. Any sport. Anything you do in life, if you're driving, if you've never played a sport, things happen so quickly, you react. And in AO's case, he heard a thump, is how he described it in the locker room, heard a thump, and then reacted because his back was facing, so he turned around. And in that decision, yes, Bones admitted that people were telling him, don't touch it, don't touch it. He didn't see that. He was just reacting because he possibly at that moment thought it was a fumbled ball, trying to get it back to save the play. So, yes, he made the wrong decision, but in that case, can I be upset that if he thought the play was coming down to a fumbled ball, he needed to grab it? No. I just think that this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back as far as the frustration, and it's because it's another mistake. But what I think people are losing sight of, specifically with special teams, and we'll get into this too, but this is a very young team. Although AO has been playing for 6 years, that doesn't mean that he's used to, playing on a Bones special teams, system. 2, there's new kickoff rules that everybody across this league is getting to. It's no longer the same thing you've been doing for the last 6 years. This is going to be a year of learning for everybody across the league, no matter how long you've been playing. And you've seen that from even a CJ Goodwin, who's been playing on this special team system for a while now. So for me, yes, I understand where the frustration is, but I'm so glad he has a coach like Bones Fossil who has been nothing but empathetic towards him to be there and to not kick him when he's down more. Because that man coming out of the game with the towel over his head, I felt bad watching that. I wasn't upset with him. I wasn't mad because at the end of the day, if your offense was producing like it needed to, you wouldn't have had it come down to the last 2 minutes. So for me, it's not one play that defines a game. It's how you played the last 4 quarters. Yep. And it came down to that. And you're going to sit there and blame him for making a football decision that, honestly, he didn't know how to react. He just did it. So Sorry for the soapbox. This is something that I've been kind of stewing on. I've stayed quiet on social media just to wait for this day. But honestly, I think a lot of really misplaced anger, and if you're still really pissed at AO for that, I think you need to take a step back, understand from a football side of things, you can be coached so much. Yes, he instinctually grabbed the ball thinking something else had happened because he heard a thud, crowd reaction. I can't blame him for that, and I really hope everybody else can find the grace that even Coach Fossil, who is his own coach, is giving him through this. Sorry.
Nicole, you
No,
corrected.
you apologize.
No apologies necessary.
No, sorry for being long, but yeah.
What happened?
You corrected yourself when you said Fossil was there for him during the press conference, but I would argue Fossil was definitely there for him during that press conference because
It was very
Fossil
gentle.
was being grilled about AO, and people
Absolutely.
were not letting up. Now, one thing I will say, I was upset when I saw the play. I'm not mad at anybody being upset when they saw the play because just like we all know what it's like to make mistakes, we all know, especially those of us who have played a sport, even if it wasn't football, we all know that what happens a lot of times is in situations like that where it is likely that someone might make a mistake. Usually there's a system put in place for people to not make a mistake. There's a reason why people are out there yelling Peter, Peter, or whatever their particular word is because that's one of the things that people are expected to listen for and expected to look for. So a lot of the people, I'll say a lot of the more rational and reasonable people who are upset, that's why they were upset. Not like, oh, you cost us the game and you should be off the team. But hey, we get that your instincts are going to kick in there. However, there are fail-safes in place for you to not have to rely on that. And you didn't do that. You didn't look around. You weren't listening. You just strictly went on instinct. So I understand the people who are upset from that regard, who say the coaching should have kicked in. I agree. I also understand why it may not have. I can see both sides in that. And that was why I asked Fossil yesterday how he was navigating the space where sympathy...
Question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where sympathy overlaps with accountability, because that's what's necessary here. And he was I think the reason why in the press conference he was so heavy on the sympathy, even though he said that wasn't the word to use, I'm like, it
We're
felt
witnessing your
Yeah.
sympathy.
yeah, because he was literally telling members of the media, hey, you don't need to be so hard on him. We shouldn't blame him. This is something a lot of players have done. And he was right. There are players who have touched, like, at various points in this season, who touched the ball when they shouldn't have and did things that they shouldn't have. And one of the questions that I brought up last night when I was speaking with someone else was, if this had happened in the middle of the game, and it hadn't been one of the last plays of the game, would people have been so upset about it? Likely not, because we've seen other players pick up the ball and fumble it. We saw Terrence Steele do it, or it wasn't. I don't remember if it was. I know Tyler Guyton did it once.
Guyton did it. Steele did it.
When Wanye ran the ball in when he should have slid, that was something people criticized. But those weren't situations that perceptibly cost the Cowboys the game. This one did. So I'm like, if you want to criticize AO, or even Fossil said, like, if you want to criticize somebody, criticize me. If you want to criticize Fossil because you felt like he fell short in coaching, criticize him for that moment. I don't think it's necessary to place a value judgment on a young man and say, like, okay, he's worthless or anything like that. But to say, like, yeah, that wasn't a smart move in that moment, it wasn't. But he knows that. That's the thing. So I think the same way that John Fossil is trying to navigate this space between sympathy and accountability, even if he doesn't like using that word, I think that's something that we can all do, especially considering how easy it is for these headlines and posts to just go public and go viral. We're no longer living in a world where we say things and nobody hears them. Like, yeah, they get around. So it's like, I think it's a good idea for us to kind of temper our takes a little bit whenever we're talking about this situation, how we feel about it.
I think it's also, my bad. Let me let
No,
you
you
go.
go. No.
My bad. Go ahead.
No.
Okay, my bad. Real fast. I think. Sorry, before I lose my train of thought. I think it's also important to know that Bones' special teams unit has had to do a lot more this year.
Yes.
And I think that's something that it goes back to what Jess was saying. I think people have forgotten that this offense, even when Dak was at quarterback, has really struggled to score points. And so when in the defense, weren't creating takeaways until the later half of the season. So when you have Bones trying to be creative and, innovative on how his goddamn special teams can figure out how to score some points and give this team opportunities, it's like you got to at least, like, accept that, And I think that some people have just kind of forgotten about that. And I think
Yeah,
that kinda
especially in
frustrates
this
me.
game. Like, anybody who was actually looking at what was going on going into this game knew that the Dallas Cowboys offense was going to need help from the special teams and the defense. The question going into that game was, can the offense even score enough to outscore a Joe Burrow-led offense? And pretty much nobody answered that question with a yes. Nobody who's actually been watching this team. And so, yeah, there is a particular level of pressure on the special teams unit that not only do other special teams units not have to deal with, but also that we don't normally see for this particular team because of the circumstances of this game. So, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on those guys. And I feel like in a lot of ways they have stepped up, and this was just one moment where they fell short. And I think it's important to just like look at it as one moment and not let it define the whole unit or the coach.
And the offense lived up to those answers because they only scored 2 touchdowns.
Aisha, right? I see you chomping at the bit for this.
Oh, I'm not. I'm really not.
The floor is
She's
yours.
like, I've discussed it enough.
I'm really not. Like, I think you ladies have summed it up pretty simply. I think that we've attacked it from all angles as far as, looking at it in retrospect. I will say that initially I was like, I know he ain't call no block punt right now. And then initially, and I was like, but at the same time, like after taking, and that's why the coaches talk. That's why we get questions answered rather. And he mentioned like, and when you go back and watch the film, Nick Vigil just killed that guard as he should. Mm-hmm. And the play was fantastic. I mean, you can't knock that. But as far as all the recovery and the things you said, there's a human element of this game that you ladies have talked about. We talked about the coaching. I think the fail-safe explanation was really good by you, Jazz. I think it's not that deep. I think it's not that deep. I think that people have, to y'all's point is, at that point, it was a pivotal point in the game. And I will say, because I tweeted it, and I meant it, to y'all's point about special teams being young, there's been some young mistakes and key moments that have shifted, the way the game felt. But also, too, to your point, Nicole, this is a young unit, and I'm sure Bones does feel the pressure in moments to make something happen. Yeah. For this offense to get going or to put this defense in a good spot. So it's honestly just the trickle-down effect of not being complementary to each other through units, right? So, and I understand, again, like even the defense's frustration because you hold, and I'm going to be straight up with you, you hold Joe Burrow and these guys to 20 points and going into the fourth. This is it doesn't matter what the record says. This is one of the best electrifying offenses in the NFL. So I understand why there was some discourse as well amongst the players. I don't think it's that deep. Like Jess said, there were so many other things within that game. Hey, how about you stick to the run? How about you manage the clock?
That?
How about you do, there's just things that were in that game that could have been done better. How about Cooper Rush? Hey, how about you be on time with some of these passes? There were chances in that game for them to, really separate themselves, and they didn't. So it is what it is.
Further than that, how about you don't get to this point in the season where you're scrambling to win games? And I can't. Yes, injuries have happened, and Mike even said yesterday, Mike McCarthy talked about how just uncanny it's been to have this amount of injuries in one season. We can all agree that has definitely impacted what's happened, but the game plan kind of from the beginning didn't set you up to win games when you were healthy. Absolutely. So let's go all the way back to training camp where you had the chance to establish things early. Yes, I'm implying about the run. You don't have to read between the lines and who your running back was. Yes, I'm implying about that. But there were other things, too, that you could have had figured out so much sooner, and you waited until 4, 5, 6 weeks into the season to even start seeing flashes of things coming together. And to me, you're put in this situation to scramble, but it wasn't just one thing from AO that has cost you losing games and getting down to the last 2 minutes to lose games. There's just been so many chances and opportunities that it's not just from one player. The accountability goes all the way around. So that's why I do like hearing John Fossil talk, because at the end of the day, hearing coaches take accountability where their mistakes lie in teaching these guys what to do in certain situations, that's important. But the guys have to apply it. So it comes with, the consistency from the coaches, so coaching, and then also the application to what you're being taught that I think you can fault other than AO and one play out of a 4-quarter game.
Yeah, I just want to say really quickly, in regard to the fans, in regard to everyone that covers this team, watches this team, we also too have to take a look in the mirror. We were talking about it before the show, and pump the brakes. And remember that these are actual real life human beings that do not belong to us, are not like are here to some degree. They entertain, like obviously the football is entertaining and things like that, but we have to make sure that we keep in mind that this is not, that the way that we treat people, we see it. Like people see it and people feel it. And I understand these guys, this is their job, it's their occupation. We hold them to a standard. We can't hold them to an unrealistic standard of not being human beings and having
Ayo
feelings.
referenced that in his statement. And I don't remember if it was in the clip that got played, but he did say something along the lines of that he had to remember that there are things in this life that are bigger than this game, which I think is something that we can all learn from. Because, like, one, a lot of us do tend to beat ourselves up for mistakes that we make. And I'm glad that he had people around him who discouraged him not to do that, right? But also, I think just hopium has a lot of dangerous side effects. And I think the misplaced anger that you've mentioned, the sense of entitlement that you've mentioned, just the inaccurate perception that you mentioned, I think all of that is a side effect. Because what we saw happen with the fans during this season was definitely like people didn't expect nothing, and all of a sudden these past couple weeks it's like, oh, could we actually do something? And like I said, those Ziploc bags of hopium started opening up. And then people start just getting really upset about things and they forget how many backups are on the field. Like how many people are like the second and third string in their position who are starting in these games these days? How young is a lot of this team? How many times have we seen these same mistakes? Just either we had already mentally given up on the possibility of a win, or it was just a much lower stake situation. So yeah, we just all need to be a little bit more conscious.
And can we talk about how this is supposed to be fun? Like, y'all are fans watching a game.
Another side effect.
Very bottom line of it. It should not bother you that much. And if it does, to the point where you feel like you need to say really ugly things about these players, these coaches, even media members, like, it's weird behavior. And you should probably take a look in the mirror and just dissect why that's going on, because it's not okay. And at the end of the day, like, I make mistakes at work every day. You make mistakes at work every day. We're human. Nothing is ever going to be perfect in any world. And that's just what it is. Like, I just could not believe the tweets I was seeing. And it was gross.
And
I was more upset about the tweets than that.
Remember that. Like, they remember that. They probably screenshot it. Like, seriously. Like, it's something that lives in their minds because they're trying to, one, provide for their families, of course. But they're also, the way that you guys love watching football, they're trying to give you guys what y'all want. You know what I'm saying? And so that's something that you also have to take into account as well. All right. We're going to take our first break here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk and talk some Carolina Panthers up next. We'll be right back with more Girls Talk, Boys Talk after the break.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Discover Aiden, the official luggage partner of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Known for top-tier engineering and craftsmanship, Aiden offers more than just bags. Originating from Australia and designed in New York, it merges fashion, design, and culture. Used by Dallas Cowboys players, staff, and the entire organization, Aiden provides style and functionality for all travelers. Visit AidenTheBrand.com and use code AidenXCowboys for 25% off your purchase. Travel like your favorite stars with Aiden.
When you're on the field, you know what it takes to lead your team and play with confidence. But that confidence shouldn't just stop at game time. It should follow you off the field, too. Join over 500 NFL players who trust Invisalign, the #1 doctor-recommended clear aligner brand. Ready to take the first step towards a smile you'll love? Visit Invisalign.com/NFL and find a doctor near you today. Transform your smile and take your confidence to the next level, both on the field and off.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The most electrifying event of the holiday season is here. Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza, powered by Reliant, is back at the Star in Frisco. Join us every Friday and Saturday night from November 22nd through December 21st for a spectacular holiday show. Wow. With the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, Rhythm and Blues, Rowdy, Santa Claus, and a surprise tree lighting appearance from your favorite Dallas Cowboys heroes. Best of all, the show is free. For details, visit thestardistrict.com. Don't miss out on the holiday magic.
It's so pretty down there.
Really?
The Christmas.
Did you go see it?
No, I just seen the Christmas
all the
tree
decorations.
and the lights and the.
You gotta walk down there at night, like when everything is lit up.
It's
very
pretty.
pretty.
I love
It's
Christmas
very pretty.
time. I'm a kid.
The
I like
lights
the
are
lights.
always pretty.
They're
Do y'all decorate
gorgeous.
y'all's places?
Yep, it was
I
done.
haven't this
It was
year.
done before Halloween.
You
Yeah.
do?
No.
I know. I think I've been scared into not doing lights. Because when you're a kid, everybody be like, your electricity bill gonna be high.
It's not
So
that
I
bad.
be nervous to do it.
It's not
I'm gonna
that
just
bad.
be honest.
But my-
Life is life.
But my
Yeah,
family
that's
don't
fair.
do the Christmas, but I love Christmas
Oh
time.
no.
Yes.
You know what? My family does Christmas enough for everybody else's. Back home, my dad used to do a light show. Like, you would park outside and he would sync the music to the lights on the house.
Yeah.
He had like all of these decorations. Like, it was ridiculous. It's giving Clark Griswold for sure.
I like the competitions in the neighborhood.
But it was cool, like,
decorates the
because
best.
that ended up like sparking the rest of the neighborhood to be like, oh yeah, and my dad's like, I gotta
Yeah.
step it up. This like too competitive, but
I
all
like
that
the
to say.
competitions. I'll
Yeah.
be driving through like, you didn't want it this year.
Or
Just
just driving by and be like,
You
no.
could've done
Meanwhile,
better.
like, I live in an apartment.
I don't
There's
like
no way I
that
could even decorate.
placement. Yeah, I'll be judging.
I'm like,
My
you
bad.
use the colorful lights, those ones, not the LED ones. Yeah.
Carolina.
You know who else has been
fun.
competitive these last couple weeks?
Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay, transition.
I was waiting for the time, but yes.
There you go. There you
Okay,
go.
transition.
I'm
got
like,
it.
well, have they?
It's fine. All right. The
Broncos.
Panthers,
Yeah.
they are on a 3-game losing streak, but that's not what we talk about. They've played
Yeah.
5 straight games that have been decided by 6 points or less. 2 overtime games in their last 5, and all 5 have been 1-score games. Obviously, they've been in it until the end. So it's been a little bit competitive for the Panthers. Something I don't think anybody expected looking at them at the beginning of the season, but they are 3-10 now. What stands out about this team? If there's anything at all.
There's no pressure on them. And you know what they're using this season to do?
That's good,
Build
sister.
culture and understand what their goal is going forward.
That's good.
This season, you're not going to the playoffs. You know what you're doing? You're understanding your head coach, you're understanding your scheme, and you're understanding what your quarterback can do to grow to be legit. And it's actually,
I love it.
It's going to be a payoff for them to have this bad season. It's a learning season for them.
Absolutely.
And they have nothing to lose. So in a game going into this, what do we always say? Teams play the Cowboys harder than they play any other team to get a little confidence boost. And guess what your quarterback could use even more of right now? A little confidence boost.
He already got confidence though.
But
I feel like
more.
he's playing a little bit better,
Bryce Young?
obviously.
Oh, he's all right.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
playing a little bit better with more confidence.
Yeah.
Far more confident.
I think so too, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he got his job back unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Like it was due to an injury to the backup that he ended up getting that job back, and I think 2 things happened. One, I think when he lost it, it seems like he took it seriously and really started analyzing his own gameplay, and I say that because it seems like his decision making is so much different than it was during the first few weeks of the season, and I think once he did get that opportunity, he's been playing more aggressively, And it's been interesting to watch them, especially that Eagles game. Like, I was kind of hoping, I was like, oh, it would be so cool if this ended up being a trap game for the Eagles. But I did not realistically expect for that game to be as competitive as it was. Like, for a little while, it looked like the Panthers might actually win that one. But we can attribute that to just the gutsiness of Bryce Young. And even what we saw from Canales as a coach. I wasn't really familiar with his game, but like watching some of the things that he did during that game really made me look into what he brings to the table in terms of his play calling. And a lot of the things that you see on the field, they make good use of motion. Bryce Young always has options on top of options on top of options. Like, you might think you know who the ball is going to, but it looks like, to me, it's literally set up for him to just kind of choose the most advantageous target based on whatever the defense might be doing or what they might miss. So, going back to your question, sorry.
No, you're not.
I think a lot of times when teams have a record like what the Panthers have, I think they're 3-10 right now, people are like, well, what are they playing for anyway? To Jess's point, they are still trying to figure out how to execute Canales' system. Bryce Young is trying to get his confidence back. We're seeing Liggett emerge as a solid, reliable receiver. And so they're trying to solidify that relationship and the chemistry between him and Young. So just on the offensive side of the ball alone, you see that they have a lot to play for and a lot of room to grow. Now, the defense needs a lot of work, so that's something else. But I would say the things on the offense, there's so many foundational things that they're doing well, and that's what stands out to me. I think the Cowboys defense will not be able to take this game off. They're going to definitely have to stay on their toes for the entire 4 quarters.
Yeah, you asked what stands out. I mean, obviously it's Bryce Young's play. It goes along with their offensive line, who have been very hard on since last year, because I was tired of seeing that nugget get lit up like that.
Yeah.
It was pissing me off. I don't know if I can say that, but it was upsetting my spirit just to see him getting lit up. And don't get me wrong, there were some instances where he was running into these sacks. I think that's something that you see in his play as of late is the escapability, the movement outside the pocket, making plays on the run. I mean, he just looks natural. You're starting to see some of what you saw from him in college. He's also getting some help from Chuba Hubbard, who we already knew was a big sign-in for them in the offseason in the first place, but some of the things that he's been able to do with them, attacking the edges, this offensive line is getting some push. You mentioned the movement, the uses of motion. That killed Philly. And Philly's defensive front, like I would say Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond are two of the better up-and-coming linebacker tandems. Obviously, Philly has what they have on their defensive line, but they do have some tendencies to leave their gap, leave their assignment, whatever the case may be. So they will definitely put Dallas in some tough spots as well. They also, Chuba Hubbard, they will run on the interior, and when they do run on the interior, they want to go more power, but he will bounce it to the outside. So your corners are going to have to come up and tackle as they have been asked to basically all season at this point. So I'm as someone that watched Bryce Young come out of college, did draft work about him and stuff, I'm thrilled. It's my favorite to see young quarterbacks start to get it because, again, we're very microwave. In this generation of quarterback, we want everything. We want these young guys to get it. First year, like Patrick Mahomes has set a standard, and it's not a realistic standard because he didn't even get it his first year. He sat his butt behind somebody. So for me, it's like to your point about Bryce Young getting some time to sit back and look at things, probably take a breath, probably did take some pressure off to take a back seat to Andy Dalton for a little. Was it Andy Dalton?
I don't even remember.
Who was that backup? I think it was Andy. I think it was Andy. I think I remember seeing that fire red hair. Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
Sit back, let Andy Dalton do his thing, and learn even from his mistakes and some of the decisions. And you do see an improvement with their. I feel for them. Man, they ain't left him out to dry. Because I love me some Xavier Legette, but, baby, you can't toss it no better than that. You talk about, the play design on that play in Philly where they could have won that game. Yeah. He couldn't have been no more open.
Literally.
Yeah. So I'm sure they're sick, and they are trying to, just like the Cowboys are sick right now. Like, you got two teams coming off of tough losses that they feel like they should have won. Somebody trying to prove a point this week, so we gonna be in for it.
And what's funny is I was listening to Dave Canales talk today, kind of about, where they are in this point of the season and how they're handling things. He was as calm as a cucumber, sitting back, pretty chill. What I really liked about him, too, is he talked about learning from Pete Carroll, learning under him in Seattle. And so I definitely think it's a very collaborative effort into making this team what it is, which I think in the long run, again, will pay off. But he was asked about the 13 sacks in the last 3 games, if it was a scheme or an effort thing. And he said the players are being more disciplined in their rush plans, and then consistency in them finally working together. Mm-hmm. So again, things are coming together for them, and I just want to give a shout out to Dave Canales. He's making the use of what the season could be. They could sit around and be like, oh, we've only won 3 games. Wah. No, they're not. They're saying, well, just wait. Sit and wait.
Well, it also goes back to the youth on this team.
Yep.
You start with just the offense alone. I mean, Adam Thielen has been in the league, obviously, 11 years. But you look at the rest of the offense, and you have a rookie at wide receiver in Xavier Legette. You have a rookie in Jalen Colker. You also have just a lot of young guys that are either were drafted or brought onto the team around 2020, 2021.
Yeah,
That's still young. You're still learning.
Yeah.
So I do, it goes back to what Jess was mentioning, is that they're trying to find that culture, and it may take a little bit more time than you thought, but they're finally putting it together. Hopefully they don't put it together Sunday.
I'm screaming right now.
But no, what concerns you, one thing that concerns you the most about the Panthers? Uno.
One thing for me, it is the play design, honestly, just because, like I said, I think if the defense is not on their toes the whole time, they can get tripped up. And obviously the Panthers are going to learn from what happened against the Eagles, so they're going to be a little bit more cautious with their execution. So that's it for me.
Is what they do something similar to any other team that the Cowboys have played this season?
For me, I'm going to say mobile quarterback, which, yes, you've seen in the last 2 years how the defense faces that. But not that Bryce is, super mobile, going to be doing some Jalen Hurts type of things. He's getting more comfortable with pushing his bounds. And to me, when a quarterback gets to that point, going back to what Aisha said earlier, as a young quarterback learning, again, they're not playing for anything specific. Yes, he has to stay healthy and he's going to try to avoid injury, but he's getting more comfortable with using his legs, and the escapability outside of the pocket, I think, is becoming one of his brighter spots. So the creativity, I guess, Jazz, to your point with the play calls and trying to utilize to see what next step Bryce Young can take, that he's been on the right track to taking.
I'll say maybe there's some similarities, and again, in Atlanta-ish, just the way that they run the ball. Maybe I would say, but no, I don't know. I would have to look. I don't know if I think that there's a lot of similarities in how they do things.
I think what they bring to the table is like, we've seen those elements in other teams, right? But
yeah,
I don't think we've necessarily seen them combined this way and used this way.
No, to answer your question, Nicole, what worries me the most is the escapability that Jess was just talking about. The Cowboys struggled even last week.
Man.
Holy crap, contain. I understand that these gentlemen are, trying to get pressure on the quarterback. They're excited to finally start having guys back and being able to get pressure on the quarterback. It does not mean that you don't, make sure you set your feet and set the edge.
Yeah.
Because this is from the running back to the quarterback. Both can get outside the pocket or move and do things on the move. So for me, it's just going to be that. Because I'm watching him, the few games I watched him, the sliding up in the pocket and just throwing dimes. You see the field open up for him. We can't talk about what is this gentleman's name that we just played? Joe Burrow, and how he's manipulating the pocket. Let's keep it 1,000. If you're watching Bryce Young, he's doing similar things. The footwork looks better. He looks calm. He doesn't look jittery. He's looking down the field, trying to make plays down the field. You can see that his eyes aren't looking at the rush as much as they used to be, and he's starting to look up. And the one thing that I did notice looking at some of their film is that he still is not super efficient with the deep ball, which obviously, There's plenty of young players that are not. He's going to kill you with the intermediate game. They like to attack the middle of the intermediate game and the right side of the field. So.
Yeah. And you can't make assumptions because of his height, because he will jump to make a pass.
Absolutely.
Well,
he's so lead.
And not only that, but he buys time.
Yep.
So that way his receivers can get open. He's great at buying time. So
who's going to defend Adam Thielen?
Ooh.
Because he's becoming like, I don't know, he got his second win or something in his.
I don't know.
I don't know, because Donovan Wilson has been thriving, y'all. I'm sure you ladies have noticed that he's playing better football. That's because he's close to the line of scrimmage, like you were talking about yesterday, Nicole. Who's gonna? Because for someone like him, Zimmer was deploying Wanye, starting to put Wanye in sometimes. So maybe Israel Mukwamu, but like, don't let Thielen beat you either, because right now it doesn't feel like we have a safety that can defend tight ends regularly right now.
All right. Well, we gotta actually cut short today, but we're not done. No, we're just taking our second break real fast.
Oh, barnacles.
Actually, no, we are done. Dang, time went by fast, y'all. Oh man, this was great.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, we're talk about the game.
Yeah. All right.
we have all week.
Well, make sure to stick in, listen to Mike McCarthy in about 5 minutes. He will be talking to the media. That is at 4:45. So stick on here on DallasCowboys.com and Dallas Cowboys Twitter. They'll be streaming it live. All right. Raisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and Jasmine Day. I'm Nicole Hutchison. We'll be back here on Friday at 3 p.m.
Friday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!